This isn't a sales video, but I am filming this so that you can understand what shadow work is, who I am, and the impact of doing the deeper and inner work makes in life, as well as how my other 6 and 7 figure clients have leveraged this. Guys, effectively, what I want to do is show you that you're not alone and that there are other people who have gone through very similar things, and by using the blueprint, they are able to increase happiness, wealth, and get more of what they want. By the end of this video, you're going to find out what your biggest blocks are, what shadow work is, and how other 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs are leveraging it and using it, and then having the option to go deeper after that. Right now, you're watching this because you know that there is something beneath the surface of your mind that you don't fully get, and it's affecting you in business, in relationships, and overall happiness, right? And maybe this is showing up as imposter syndrome. Maybe it's sabotage in relationships, or it could be a fear of failing and anxiety. Or maybe you're simply at a different level and you're ready to uncover more layers. So the individuals that I currently work with, they're generally doing pretty fucking well. But normally that's just in money or business. But it's all the other aspects of their life that are lacking, which then makes things harder. So they come to me to figure out why and then actually balance out their life so that they can do more, have more, and actually enjoy the life that they're living. Because at the end of the day, we know that that's what it's all about, you know? However, it's that feeling of that invisible tug pulling you back to old behaviors, you know? And I'm going to be straight up. This invisible tug comes back to your core fears, your core beliefs and insecurities, and how they all mix into the different parts of your life. And let's be real. You're watching this because you've got some sort of problem that's costing you in some way and you want it fixed. So if you are someone that's read all the books, or even perhaps you've worked with a coach, I have some news for you. You've most likely only touched the surface, and this is because you became really good at self-intellectualizing, where you think you know, but that is half of the problem in itself. By thinking that you know and understand, that stops you from fully feeling. And this is the difference between self-intellectualization and self-understanding. So just because you understand doesn't mean that the problem goes away. And this is also why I have a fairly consistent stream of people working with me. So yeah, you might have done 80% of the work required and think you know what's going on. But man, it is that last 20% that holds the key to clearing the blocks and actually understanding what those blocks are. And so what this all about is, what shadow work is all about, is uncovering your fears, your insecurities, the conflicts that play out beneath the surface. And all this stuff, it's the stuff that you don't really want to see. And often the tricky thing about going deeper and doing deeper work is that the old pain and beliefs are attached to your old identity. And it can be really fucking scary to take that step to processing that past and moving into the future where those old problems don't exist. Now, one of the things to recognize is that all of this is optional, right? It's optional for people to do, but it's also fucking critical you do it. Otherwise, you're going to spend your entire life with a bleeding wound that you're not willing to actually stitch up. So what I do is I help people find the kinks in the hose that stop the water pressure operating at full capacity. So one side is healing, right? But the other side is a lot of growth. And what I mean by this is that there are aspects of your life that aren't what you want it to be, and this is because there are parts of you that are yet to be discovered, i.e. your shadow self. So I do have the full blueprint that you're wanting, which shows the exact process I use with my other clients, but it is 15 minutes long, and let's be real, very few of you have the attention span to spend 15 minutes focusing intensely. So I want to give you the shortened version. 2 short videos of what shadow work actually is and who I am, and then after that I'm going to ask you 10 hard-hitting questions to actually help you identify where your biggest blind spots are right now, as well as how they impact each area of your life. These questions have made people cry, they've made them realize how much stuff they've pushed down, and then in turn, by actually facing it, it has made them make more money, create more success, and have more growth. And you'd be surprised how much people think that they've done, that then they do this test and they realize the shadows that have laid beneath the surface. What do I do? Coaching and shadow work, what is it, and why are high performers leveraging it? Well, in under 90 seconds, the core of what I do is about fine-tuning performance by addressing the deeper issues so you can achieve peak potential. Right? We work on things like overwhelm, burnout, insecurities, lack of balance, imposter syndrome, relationships, communication. And you see, all of these things stem back to a core wound which creates your identity and your personality. So shadow work is about facing those core beliefs and fears that actually impact your peace, wealth, and happiness. See, when you're doing big things, your actions can create massive outcomes. So if you're not dialed in mentally, emotionally, and physically, that could end up costing you a lot. So especially the impact of unresolved fears and unconscious conflicts from the past, they affect your decision-making ability around the present and therefore the future. So the goal is we free up 20 to 30% of your mental and emotional capacity. Because when we decrease the overwhelm, the fear, the uncomfortable emotions, you have the space to make better decisions, to make more money, and have better relationships. So how I operate is that I generally will work with someone one-on-one for a minimum of 6 months, where we go through what I call an ascension and descension process. And what we do is we integrate all the pent-up shit, all those thoughts and feelings you've kept inside your entire life, which create the problems and limit growth. So put really simply, when you can free up that mental emotional space, you perform at a higher level, right? So you might already be optimized and you've done some self-development, or you've worked with a coach and you've read all the books. But the problem I find time and time again is that it doesn't actually get to the root cause. So therefore, those old behaviors and feelings and emotions come back. So if this is aligned with who you are and what you are ready to go and create, then follow me, send me a DM, and I'll send you some more information on how to actually go to those depths and what you need to do to create those outcomes. Who actually am I? I'm a guy that uncovers your fears, your insecurities, and then I help you understand how they show up in your businesses, in your relationships, and then I help you move through it. Right? Effectively what I do is I talk to people about their problems and then help them no longer have problems. But that's not what you want to know. What you want to know is, who am I as a human? Right? Well, short form is that I've spent the last 8 years doing a lot of inner work, and I've been on this wild fucking journey. You know, from rites of passage to initiations, courses, coaching, programs, retreats. All these things revealing more and more layers of who I actually am. Then over the past 3 years, I dived in this world of coaching, and I've had the privilege to coach men and women of all sorts, from ex-military to elite athletes, business owners, counselors, as well as running immersive wilderness retreats. But like, my story really started when I was 11, and a big part of my identity was training 25 hours a week as a high performance gymnast. And consequently, that led me to burning out during school, breaking my back on multiple occasions. So that made life really fun as a young kid. I then went and graduated and went to uni, where I started an economics degree, which turned out to be all maths, and consequently led me to working at a toxic tech startup, which funnily enough led me into this self-development rabbit hole, where I uncovered things like imposter syndrome, judgment, insecurities, fear of failing, fear of succeeding, all the guilt, and especially a lot of shame. And these were big aspects of what I went through, and funnily enough, they're the core areas I work with my clients on. To be really upfront, like, this work isn't for everyone, and often ignorance is bliss. But if you are ambitious and you do want more out of life, and you want more success, wealth, happiness, peace, then you're bound to encounter parts of yourself that you don't really want to see. But it's through these unwanted parts that you get that peace and clarity, because the answers that you're looking for are often in the work you're avoiding. And people will pay for these answers with either time or money, and we choose the one that we value the least. So you can do as much reading, courses, and content, but until someone truly points out your blind spots, they will stay blind. So follow me to learn more about this whole crazy world of shadow work and coaching. So now that you have a rough idea of who I am, what I do, now let me ask you these questions. Let's cut straight through the bullshit. Now, these questions are designed to look at who you are as a person and how the core areas of status, shame, fear, anger, survival show up in your life. So what I'm going to get you to do is actually write down or type the very first thing that comes to your mind when I ask this. Your gut impulse, the very first thought or feeling that comes up. You don't need to justify or create a story as to why this is your answer, right? Just write down the first thing. Right? This is your actual real response. So I'm going to move through these things fast so that you just put it on the paper. So if you do need to rewind, please do. Number 1, I'm avoiding facing my shit because I'm scared about. My deepest fear is that I'm afraid people will see me as, when I have what I want, I will lose. Who do you resent more, your mum or your dad? I don't do what I say I'm going to do because I have to be seen as, I'm most ashamed of. When I consider my self-worth in relation to others, I feel. My biggest obstacle right now is, looking through my father's eyes, I am. Looking through my mother's eyes, I am. My biggest fear in relationships is. Now, I want you to sit with these and actually feel into how these things actually show up in your life. Now, this is a conflict test I do with my clients, and it's about 50 questions long, and we find the root of everything. So it's about understanding how your beliefs, which these questions uncover the core beliefs you have, how these beliefs create conflicts and blocks in both business, relationships, and life. So my opinion on the matter is that if you can create as much flexibility possible in your behavior, then you can do and be as many different things and show up with as much balance. And Carl Jung talks about this in regards to stepping into the different archetypes, meaning how can you be a king? How can you be a warrior? How can you be a magician and a lover? How can you be both the monster as well as a deeply caring and loving person? How can you create the confidence, authority, power, softness, and love that you need for the different areas of your life? And within achieving these outcomes, it means letting go of the fears and the blocks that stop you from being able to expand your capacity. Right? And this change happens from processing the past, through shadow work, through inner child work, through healing. Right? It is the ability to move into these different archetypes, which creates a huge amount of change, because you're no longer being affected by the past in the way that you used to be. Now listen, if you are the right fit, you're making a minimum of 10K a month and you're ready to fucking just go bigger, you're ready to heal, you're ready to create a lot of change, then what I want you to do is message me your answers for the questions that I've just asked in this video. And then I want to give you a free 30-minute call. This 30-minute call is you and I uncovering these biggest blocks and actually putting a plan in place in order to then move past it. Now, when you do book in a call, right, I'm going to send you another video on my full coaching framework and what my other 6 and 7 figure clients actually go through when they do work with me. And I do this because when you come to the call, you've already got all the answers to your questions, right? And it means that we can actually have a conversation versus me trying to sell you something that you don't really know about, right? So guys, if you're making 10K a month or more and you're building and you're growing and you're interested in diving into this work, then book a call, right? And if you're not making that, then still book a call, because there's a variation of ways that people can work with me to create consistent and ongoing change, right? And you got to understand that this is not a 2-month in and out program. The work in general takes a lifetime, but by doing it now and identifying where the blind spots are now, you are literally saving 10 to 20 years of obstacles and roadblocks, because you are open enough and smart enough to realize that the fastest and most effective way to grow and learn is to pay for the time that you don't have. So start the work, because there is a version of you 5 years from now that's either kicking you in the ass for not starting this work and avoiding all of it. And there's also a version of you that's thanking you for all your time, energy, and money that you've put into yourself. Now, totally upfront, whether this is with me or someone else, just start the work, right? Because this is where the most deep level of change happens in life.